Well, here we are. It's Rebel turn 8. It's 5 p.m. And the Southern Commander, which is to say Lieutenant General John C. Pemberton, has decided he's made a momentous decision. He's instructed Loring, whose division he's been told in this engagement must be kept in good condition. He's already got one exhausted division. He cannot have two more. So let's keep Loring it. Well, let's not have two more become exhausted. So the working plan, if you remember, was that Loring was just going to give ground, and was going to withdraw sort of down sort of this way, but not cross Baker's Creek, because if they do, then Pemberton has failed in his assigned task. Now, that was all very well, but the thing was, with these chaps over here, these Federals across the creek now, and we were looking at the Confederate commanders were looking at their options, and it was basically sort of take Loring. And I mean, at the end of the day, it was rather dull, the idea that he would just sort of keep sort of inching back over here. But the thing is that they can go a pretty long way. I mean, they can come all the way down to about here and fire all the way down to about here. So even if Loring had gone beyond this line here, he's still only one turn away from being engaged by them. Right, so the idea was, because it was an option to just stay there and go stationary, that's what they've done. The notion was that if that division had just come down here, then that would have meant that Stevenson's, this brigade here of Tracy's, on the E end of Stevenson's line, could have been charged in the flank by, which unit? I believe by that unit there, for sure. And there were visions of what's left of Stevenson's division crumbling and collapsing, or being swept away, or something along those lines. So it was decided, okay, as long as the exposure is not too sort of great and prolonged, Loring could put up a bit of a fight, maybe take some casualties, but if it looks like we're getting close to exhaustion level, then he's going to have to pull back. Okay, so anyway, what they've done is they've drawn a line in the sand, they've become stationary, and who is that? What's that say? Oh, that's right. That's Buford's brigade down the end there, and I believe he was a cousin or something like that of Buford, who was at Gettysburg. I believe. Anyway, so they've turned the flank there, and so they've got their protected flank. Okay, so they can't be charged in the flank. The artillery, which was very exposed over here, has been pulled back, because otherwise, as I said, if they just eliminated the artillery, well, that's 3 hits right there, or 3 casualties right there. So they've been pulled back to here. Okay. What else has been going on? Little things have been going on. Let's see. Stevenson's chaps pulled back to a position that now means that none of their 3 brigades can be charged by the Federals that got pushed back last time. Well, they could if they charged them disordered. That's probably not a very good idea. I suppose if they were desperate, which they are desperate, hadn't really thought of that. So, okay, they could reach them if they charged them up the hill disordered. But if they recover their order first, they won't be able to reach them. They've moved just out of, just beyond 800 yards, which would have been the distance there. Okay, and let's see, these chaps have unlimbered, so they are able to cause morale checks for whoever's here and whoever might come up here, as long as they're still there, obviously. These chaps have just stayed where they were, and what the idea here is they've manoeuvred themselves into a position where they are guarding the flank of this unit here. They can't charge them in the flank, because to do so, they would have to go so far to the north in that direction to avoid the zone of control of this unit that they would no longer qualify as charging them in the flank. Because if you do that, the front center of your brigade base would have to be behind a line extending their front here, like that, and that wouldn't be the case if they skirted to avoid them. So it's getting congested there. Right, it's not impregnable by any means. And of course, we can see that if they were charged frontally, then, I mean, if it was absolutely square on and frontally, they would be pushed back this way, which would mean they'd go through them, but they would only clip them. You see, they'd only clip the corner. They wouldn't go through two opposite sides, so they would be completely unaffected. Right, down here, SD Lee's chaps have just remained stationary. The guns have rotated themselves a little bit whilst remaining stationary. And then down here, we've got Bowen has moved even further back, basically as far back as he can go without getting his feet into the creek, just to stay out of the way, out of the range of these chaps here if they decided to just sort of like, I don't know, come up here and then just head for Bowen, you know, oh, by thunder, bully, we understand that Bowen is on the other side of yonder hill, or something like that. Yeah, sure. But anyway, that's where they've gone, just to, they really are pursuing the, let's just, I wouldn't say run away, but let's not take any more losses and let's retire a bit and all that sort of thing. So, okay. And now I think that covers just about everything, and I think we're now, because of course now, this is the 8th turn, so after this, the Federals have only got 3 more turns, and they have got a lot of losses. What is it? They'd have to get 4 more still. They'd have to get 4 more on Bowen to exhaust him, and on Loring, they would still have to get 7 casualties on Loring. So they'd have to get 7 casualties on Loring in 3 turns. And they'd have to get 4 casualties on Bowen in 3 turns. And that's starting to look just about impossible. Now, the other thing that could happen, of course, is the Federals are all finally lined up here. It's not an ideal configuration by any means, especially with all this lot stationary. But if they throw everything that they can at these chaps over here, you know, maybe some progress will be made. And especially if these chaps can be made to crumble here, and these SD Lee's boys could be attacked from the rear, possibly. Who knows? Anyway, but I think it's probably not looking good for the Union, as I mentioned before. But as always, we shall see. All right, so we've got the dice set up. Not a lot going on. Basically, the Confederates are being very conservative about who they shoot at, because, of course, once you shoot at somebody, chances are they can fire back at you, or they may be able to. So anyway, these chaps can fire regardless because they've got the enemy in close range. So, okay, so that's what they're doing. Enemies in close range here and here, so they have to take a morale test. He has to do the same thing, close range of the enemy's guns, here and here. Okay. Obviously, they're stationary. They can fire with 2. They're not stationary. They can fire with 1. And then down here, these chaps are stationary. They're going to fire over there with 2 dice. So we'll start down here, I think. And they can fire. They can certainly fire. What am I trying to say? Yeah, they're in the woods, so they're getting protection from fire. These are not heavy guns. They're field guns, so they are getting protection from fire. And we do have a 6. Yes. So that means because of the protection from fire, they have to roll for a save. And they have no save, so that's a hit on them. Okay, that's progress there for the South. Okay. Lee's boys with the rifles. Okay, and then over here, let's see. Might as well have let's have the incoming coming in from Osterman, Osterhaus. Kept thinking of that movie, Osterman Weekend. Anyway, Osterhaus, which I suppose means Eastern House, as in Österreich, and all that sort of thing. But anyway, right. No, let's shoot at him first. What the heck? Okay, so they're going to shoot at him. So there's 2 dice there, and it's close range. 4, 5, 6. Okay. Snake eyes. No good there. All right. Shooting coming in here from... I suppose those chaps might as well fire, right? Well, yeah, because he can fire at them. Right, so in that case I think they will fire. Right, okay. I believe I'm muddling this, aren't I? I just picked up the die from there, I think. Okay, so, whoops. I've got 2 dice. Oh, getting very confused here. Right, here's the artillery, firing with 1 die. And, okay, they've got a 6, but deployed artillery gets a save. And they get a save. Right, so no hit there. And now we have, these chaps will fire. Okay, looking for 6s. No 6s there, so there's nothing. Desultory fire. And I didn't do the morale tests first, did I? Oh, goodness me. I have completely lost all discipline here. And once it's gone, you can forget getting it back. Well, let's see. Who scored that hit? I think it was them, and they don't have to test morale, so we should be okay. It should be that the morale results won't make any difference. Okay, they got a 5, which is close, but they're all right. The artillery, their morale of 5. They got a 3. They're fine. And then finally the federal artillery. Let's do that. They rolled a 4, so they're fine. And then incoming from the federal artillery, they can shoot at them or they can shoot at them because both those units fired at them. So who would they prefer to shoot at? If they shoot at Lee, they're harder to hit because they're artillery. But if they could get a hit against them, that would be 1 hit of that brigade. On the other hand, if they fire at Stevenson, they might get 1 hit, but that of course means that they have to check for exhaustion, for morale collapse. Let's fire at Stevenson. Okay, let's see. They hit on a 4, 5, 6. There's no saving throw, so that is a hit on Stevenson's brigade, Reynolds' brigade. So Stevenson will have to roll for morale collapse, and I know I haven't marked the hits yet, but I'll do it all live and on camera. I'm going to roll for morale collapse right now. So they only had 1 hit, so if I roll a 1, the morale collapses. Close, but no cigar. Okay, right, so I'll mark those hits, and then that's the end of the turn. Sorry, once again, I like to make this easy for me to follow. That's the end of the Confederate 5 p.m., which is their 8th turn. Thank you. And sharp-eyed observers will have noticed that I made a mistake there. They rolled a 4, and I counted it as a hit on them because it was close range, but they are rifles, so they only hit on a 5 or a 6, so they didn't hit Stevenson's division, Reynolds Brigade. So there we are then. All right, here we are. It's the end of the Federal 9th turn. It's 6 p.m. And so the Federals, remember, they've got turns 9, which is this one, 10 and 11. So they've got 3 turns to try to accomplish their mission, so to speak. Seems doubtful to me. But anyway, what did they do? Right. We can see over here the arrival of well, actually, it's not the remainder. No, the artillery still hasn't arrived down the end here. We've got 2 more brigades of MacArthur's division. The first one was taken up by U.S. Grant himself and led down here. They formed up and they're down there ready to get stuck in. Maybe next turn they might be able to. Well, I suppose they could move down and fire at somebody, perhaps. But we shall see. But that's clearly not the main thing that's going on. If we start from over here, guns here went stationary. They can fire at those chaps over there, so that was determined to be the best thing to do. These shaken up chaps of Logan's who are permanently disordered, they've moved forward so that to be able to interfere with fire coming from these boys over here who can't fire on them because their fire lane is blocked by them, so they can fire at them if they wish, and so can they. So they could be very heavily clobbered this turn. We know that. But the Federals have gone in with the big moves, the big charges. So these chaps have burst forward from the forest, stuck in there, stuck in there. These chaps have gone along for solidarity. Unfortunately, they can't help because they don't have a clear fire lane to be able to fire at them. The melee factors here are not good for the Federals. The Southern boys over there are going to have 7 melee dice because they're stationary. Federals are going in with 4. Okay. Here, however... No, wait a minute. No, that is about it, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. That doesn't get much better than that. Over here, these boys... bully! Yes, by thunder! The boys from up north have charged in against... who was that? Barton's brigade. Always seems to be involved at pivotal moments. 2 brigades of Smith's division, which was repelled, have reformed from disorder and gone forward. They didn't have enough of a move to be able to charge, so they've got within shooting range of the enemy. Okay, things are getting a bit crowded up there, so Smith's artillery decided to move itself up there. It's limbered, but so it can't participate at the moment. Let's see. Osterhaus's artillery is still up there, and a new element has been introduced in that Crocker's chaps. Crocker has basically given over the command of his men to the corps commander over here, whose name escapes me for the moment, and he is down here, or rather it's not Crocker, it's of course Colonel Sandburn, because Crocker's off sick. He's taken charge of, or direct control of these... using his control of his 2 artillery units. They've come up here. They've moseyed down here. They've unlimbered so they can open fire. Okay, trying to get as many guns involved as possible. Let's see. Osterhaus, they're badly shaken up as well, permanently disordered, but they can at least fire at the artillery. Not much to go on, really, but there is that. Carr's troops have crossed forward here. They've charged into action there, charged into action here. They were down there, if you remember. And then also Blair and Blair brigades also. So one good thing that's going, as it were, sort of tactically, if you sort of look at the micro details, is here is Loring's division is being hit on the E end by 3 Union brigades. So... the Union commander is hoping that... who is that down there? So that, well, it's Blair, isn't it? He's hoping, and Blair and Carr, and they're certainly hoping for, hopefully, some sort of a result there, perhaps. We shall see. Right. What else have we got? Yeah, so basically, the Federals just sort of threw everything forward, into contact if possible, shooting range if not possible, and just get those guns in there, get those artillery in there, see what can be done. Chances are, with MacArthur over here, it would seem to be very unlikely. Certainly, well, I mean, right at the tail end, this is artillery, which is not even on yet. Very unlikely that they could get involved, but of course that's a trivial detail compared to the rest of the battle. And now it's time to set up the dice. Okay, well, because I'm anticipating that... what did I think of? Oh, that's right. It could be that as a result of a morale test, obviously a unit can become disordered, and if they become disordered, they can no longer be stationary. So I'm not laying out there are so many morale tests this time, and of course if you have that many morale tests, as we can see from the dice, it means, by golly, something interesting is going on. There's something going down out there. This is we are reaching the crisis. Crisis, yes. Well, you know, basically, the Union have said, in for a penny, in for a pound. We've only got 3 more turns. We're probably a bit late, so let's get stuck in. Anyway, so I'll lay out the melee and fire dice after we've done the morale tests. Okay, I'm a bit nervous about this because there are so many of them. I'm sure I'm going to make one or two mistakes, so please be indulgent, and I'm sure, please... go ahead and mention in the comments, of course, if a mistake is made, so that anyone viewing this video will get the most out of it. They won't be misled by my mistakes. Right. I've had a look, and I think the main factors that we're going to see that affect the morale is that the army commander is attached here. We've got several situations where the Union is attacking uphill, so that gives the defenders where is it? Gives them a +1 if they are stationary, only if they're stationary. So these chaps here, for example, who can't be stationary, won't be seeing any of that. Not that any of them are being meleeed. Oh, I suppose he is being meleeed, right? So anyway, we'll come to that. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's just go through it. So here, these chaps, I've got to remember too if they're disordered, but none of the defenders are disordered and none of the attackers are disordered, so okay, that's all right. Anyway, Champion Hill, right, these chaps came from here, the centre of the hill's over there. The way it works in V&B is they're going that way, so you look at that, you can, okay, yeah, they're definitely going uphill. So, I'm not going to go into details. You want to see more details on that? Buy the book and read the rules. So, yeah, so they're definitely counting as being uphill, defending and stationary. So they're going to get a +1 on their morale, which of course means, because they have a morale of 5, it means they can't fail. Right, so over here, these chaps have a morale of 5 on the other hand. Let's see what happens to them. There's no negative adjustment to them for having to move uphill, as it were. So, right. So, they pass theirs. Okay. Then here, they get a +1 for having the army commander with them. They've got a morale of 5. That means they automatically pass their morale test because they can't fail. These chaps here got a morale of 5. They are fine. Okay. Then here, those chaps are not getting any kind of a bonus. This looks like a straightforward morale test. Okay, so first of all, the Southern Boys with a morale of 5. Barton's Brigade has been doing very well. But not now. They finally blink, as it were. So, they are now disordered. It'd be nice if I had a bunch of disordered markers really handy, wouldn't it? Let me sort that out. There we are, Barton's Brigade. Disordered. Now, can Crocker's 2nd Brigade hold on and keep its order? They can't. Haha, they're disordered as well. So, now with a handy dandy marker, there we go. Alright, they're both disordered. So that means that whoever loses that melee will rout. Okay. Now we have these chaps are testing because they're within the close range of the enemy, and I don't see, let's see, they're definitely, that's right, they're not stationary, they are, yeah, so they can't get any benefit from being uphill, right, okay, so they've got a morale of 5, they've passed. And then we've got these Southern Boys from Lee's division with the artillery. They've got a morale of 5. They've passed as well. Plucky chaps. Then we got Osterman, his artillery. They've been bruised for sure, but they pass anyway. Okay. Let's see. We've got who is that down there? Sanborn commanding Crocker's artillery. They're in close range of these chaps here, so they've got a test for sure. I don't see any factors affecting them. They're okay. And let's see here. Here's the other one. Roll that one up. They're fine. Southern artillery here belonging to Stevenson. Yeah. Okay, they rolled a 5, but they're fine. They don't have any negatives on them as far as I can see. Let me see. Oh, is that a mistake there? Yeah. I hope they haven't fired yet, because they have a stationary marker and they're not allowed to have one because the division is exhausted, which you can see if you can see the little brown ball marker there. But I guess I must have missed that. Well, that's good news for the Union. They're not stationary. Okay. Right, let's see. Now comes the really important stuff. That's going to be the most important bit. Let's do this one, though. There's Loring, Featherston's Brigade. or some people in Britain would say Fanshawe. That's he's got a. Let's see, he's got a morale of 5, but he was definitely uphill of the enemy, and he is defending stationary, so he gets a +1, so therefore he can't fail. There we go. Okay, and have I missed something there? Let me see, because they have closed. They are actually in melee with them. I know that it looks like there's a bit of a gap, but they sort of slipped down the slope a bit. Maybe, I don't know if I can do that. So no, but they should. They're rolling for melee, so they've got a test. So, right, let's do that. They're fine. Okay, now the crucial one. Buford's brigade here on the E end. Will they stand? Okay, they're not being hit in the flank because they've got a secure flank. They rotated themselves. If they were being hit there, they would be flanked, but they're not being hit in the flank. So therefore, indeed, they have. Oh gosh. They can't fail. No, because they've got the +1 because they were uphill of the enemy. They were. There we go. Yep, crucial. But there it is. Here's a Union going in. As far as I can tell, they've just got regular factors. Okay, nothing adjusting their morale downward there. Then these chaps have got a morale of 6. They can't fail anyway. This particular brigade here, morale of 6. And then finally this brigade here, which I think belongs to Carr. And they've rolled a 2, okay? So, let's see, the 2 failures that we had were here. Those are the only failures. So they're both disordered. Let's see, it's a melee. That means they're both going to get saving throws from disordered opponents. So that means that chances are the casualties would be but light. But whoever loses it is going to rout. And right, let's do the dice. Okay, the dice have been set out, and there are so many combats going on. I thought I'd run out of blue dice, and I had to use a spare green one over there, but turned out I had 2 that were looking elsewhere. But anyway, be that as it may, we're fixating on details here. Let's get on with it. Right, so obviously this is definitely one of the most important rounds of combat, surely the most important round of combat so far in the whole business. And of course we have to keep in mind this is Volley and Bayonet, so there are going to be plenty of Confederate units, for example, who can't fire because you can only fire defensively if you're either in close range of the enemy and firing arc, or if the enemy has been shooting at you and you have them in firing arc. So no one's shooting at them, they can't fire. No one's shooting at them. I originally, or rather the Northern Commander, by thunder, had Logan firing at these chaps here, but no, they're not going to do that because that would just tempt them, inevitably make them fire back at them. And they would have 2 shots disordered, which is terrible, and they would have 5 shots not disordered. So we're not having that. So not quite so bad for them, because I thought moving forward in that position they'd get all this hail of fire coming from them. Oh, they will next turn if these chaps are still here. But anyway, you get the general idea. Okay, so and there are a few situations up here. These chaps, for example, they're not within close range of anyone, and no one is in this actual maelstrom. No one is actually firing at them. So there we go. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of the thing, is it? Right, so we'll start off with the artillery here. Well, no, wait a minute. Wait. As usual, I have to decide, are there tactically any places where I would prefer to do the combat first? And the reason for that would generally tend to be that you might have a result of that combat which would cause the enemy to either retreat or rout through their friends, and then their friends could either be disordered or routed when the combat takes place. So sort of, softening them up first, as it were. There's a bit of an unfortunate situation down here on the end. I might as well get into some tactical detail, why not? Down the end here, because of course it would have been better if enough weight could have been brought to bear directly on the E end here to force them to flee in that direction, straight through their friends, which would have been absolutely lovely. But it was determined that there just wasn't enough weight. If it was just those two units, that's 8 dice against 7. So that's not much of a guarantee to win a melee. Nothing ever is, or well, seldom is anyway. So these chaps are thrown in as well. Now that, of course, means that the sort of weight of the enemy is more or less here. So if they rout from them, if they... or even if they're just defeated, that's right, if they're just defeated and they well, they'd be disordered, and they flee from them in defeat, they would go this way, which would mean that their unit would have to rotate and then go that way, and so it would clip, as I like to call it, technically, it would clip the side of this, but it wouldn't go through two opposite ends of it, so therefore it would not disorder them, because if that was a possibility, you could do that combat first to see if you could disorder them first before they did their combat against a disordered enemy. But as far as I can see, there's no way they are going to become disordered because of what happens here. Okay, so I suppose I should have a good look and see if there's any way I should do that first. Anywhere I should do that first. No, I don't see anywhere really tempting to do that. There's a slight thing down here where if they were able to defeat them in melee, then that would cause them, if we follow the center of the base as it were, that they would go down here, and they might just go through both sides of that unit there, which would then make that unit disordered before it fired, which is not much. That's like basically taking away one of those dice, more or less. So it's not a big deal, and they're not in melee anyway. So they're not going to be retreating, etc., etc. When in doubt, I generally find, I think, the best thing to do is to start with the best odds first, and just sort of go from there. So I think I am actually going to start down here with the big one. So there we are. Okay. All right. So, and as I understand it, the casualties or the hits caused by this unit need to be distributed evenly between the units that are attacking. The units that are attacking, we've already taken account uphill and all that sort of thing. In the morale test, it doesn't affect the combat. Everything has already been taken into account by the number of dice that have shown up here. We're not dealing with hits on anything except 6s. We don't have shock troops, as it were. We don't have people armed with carbines. Etc., etc. Right. Okay. So, gosh, let's do it. Let's see what Blair's 2nd Brigade can do to, who is this? Buford's Brigade. Okay, here we go. Here's Blair's 2nd Brigade going in. Close but no cigar. All right. An inauspicious start. Right. 4 more coming in now from Blair's 1st Brigade. All right, there's 1 hit, so no saving throws involved here, so that is an actual hit. Okay. And then we've got a barking dog. Right. We've got these boys here who are coming in. I can't quite see the commander's name. I think it's Car, possibly. Oh, they didn't get anything, so we've only got 1 hit out of all that. Okay, just a moment. Right, don't tell me after all this that those southern boys are going to win the melee. They may well. They're plucky chaps. Plucky chaps. Let's see. Who are they? Buford's Brigade. Right. There we go. Give it a good shake. Okay. Here we go. Oh. Looks powerful, but there's only actually 1 hit there. Yep. There we go. 5s don't count. Right. So Gentlemen, we have a melee tie. Now then. Oh! Wait a minute. Right, and the Union do have an advantage here. You take the morale of the best brigade, which is this brigade here. Blair's 1st Brigade has a morale of 6. Yes, I need to remember these details, you see. As Michael Caine said in the film Mona Lisa, it's the little things, George. It's the little things. Right. So, right, yeah, it's a melee tie. So we roll the dice, but the Union start out with a +1, as it were. Let's see what happens. And the Union have won the melee. They ended up with, they were 1 ahead, so they ended up with 7, as it were, against the Confederate 4. So the Union have won the melee. And we have to do that right now before we do anything else. Okay, so there you have it. I gave the Confederate commander the choice where to allocate the hit that he had caused. He was fighting 3 units, and it was decided to put it onto Blair, so that because it was already damaged, so let's try and get Blair's division damaged. And then they, of course, had to retreat disordered. So they retreat half their normal move distance facing the enemy. That's where they are. They're now disordered. They've got their hit. And the Union decided to move forward and occupy the position that the enemy has just vacated. Advance after combat, as we call it. And so now on we go. An interesting thing developed, but it's not what we might think. Question was, okay, now if they lost, would they go through both sides of them? They wouldn't. They're too far back that way. If they were more sort of here, they might have gone through both sides of them, which would have caused them to become routed, but not so lucky for the Union. Right, so now we have this combat here, where it's just these 2 units in melee. There are no other units firing or contributing in any way, so we can roll that up. So this time let's see what the Southern boys can do. So we'll get their 7 dice in there. There we go. Looking for 6s. Oh, look at that. No, nothing there. Got 5s, but nothing there. Okay. All right. A lot of misses there. A lot of near misses. Aim low, boys. Right, let's see what the Northern boys can do in reply in their melee. Okay. So this now is, who is it? It belongs to, oh, come on. Who is that? Is that Carr? I think it's Carr, yeah. Right, coming up the hill. Plucky chaps, and they've got a hit. Ooh. So that's a defeat. Yes, there's a hit there. Okay, let's get that sorted out. Okay, and there we are. This Featherston's brigade has retreated back to here, disordered. It's taken a hit. And Carr, I think it's Carr's 2nd Brigade, has moved forward slightly. Doesn't want to put itself in a position where it can be a flank attack by those chaps there. But just move forward slightly just to sort of progress towards the enemy and generally get in their way. Let me think here. 1 second. Right, pressing on. Next up is actually going to be this situation here, which is at least there are more dice on the Union side, so we'll see what happens. But these chaps are firing into them, and these chaps are meleeing them, so that's what's happening. Okay, now these are disordered, so we'll do them separately, and we'll do them first, as a matter of fact. Here we go. So, disordered meleeing, coming in from Crocker's 2nd Brigade. And no result there. Their hearts weren't in it. And then fire in good order, coming in from Smith's 2nd Brigade. And there's a hit there. So there's no, let's do that. There's no saving throw for that one. So that's progress. Let's see what the Southern boys can do in reply to that. This is a melee, so there will be a winner and a loser. Remember, these chaps are disordered as well. No hits. Aha. So that means that the Rebs have lost the melee, and they will break, they will become routed, and they will rout. Okay, so what happened? Because Barton's brigade was over here, remember they failed their morale test and they lost the melee. So fail your morale, you become disordered. Lose the melee, you now become routed. So they routed back to here. They had taken a hit. They already had one hit. They took a hit in the melee. Then they took a hit because they were routed. So they've actually now got 3 hits. They're routed. There's their routed marker. And but they did rout through both sides of this brigade here, which is Stevenson's division, Reynolds' brigade. So they are now disordered. Okay, so yeah, definitely productive results coming in here for the Union. And where are they going to strike next? Right. Well, now let's. We got more shooting contest going on up the top there, and a bit of a firefight. Not so much. It's not so much. It's not a melee. So anyway, so let's have these chaps. They're disordered, and they can fire at whomever shall be firing at them. So I would think that productively they prefer to fire at Smith's 1st Brigade over there. So they're going to take a pot at them. Disordered. Nothing doing. Desultory fire. Now in comes the fire from Smith at the Rebs. And oh, boxcars. It's not quite eliminated them, right? So that's 2 hits there on Stevenson's Reynolds Brigade. That means now, at this point, just out of interest, let's get this one in there as well. Okay, so therefore we got 1 coming in from him, not stationary, but it is close range, but it is a rifle, so it's hitting on 5 and 6, and that's a miss. Okay, so yeah, important because Stevenson's division now has taken 4 casualties. Yes, 4 casualties. So shaping up to a good possibility. Is there any more attacks on Steve? Yeah, there are more attacks on Stevenson's. Yeah, there are. A good possibility that we could see morale collapse for Stevenson this time. Okay, because they are getting hit. Those boys are getting hit awful hard. Okay, as they say in Sid Meier's Gettysburg. Right. So, I'm only quoting. So these chaps here can fire back. Let's see, they've got 1 short-range shot. Who do they want to fire at? Because it's close range, they're less concerned about the rifles, and they'd rather also shoot at a division, I think, which is not already exhausted. Yeah, okay, they'll fire those chaps there. Let's see what happens. 4, 5, or 6. Okay, but they are deployed artillery, so, well, no, not if the fires are heavy. No, but they're not heavy, so we'll roll for a saving throw. And there's the save, okay? Ineffective fire then from them. These boys here can fire at... Who the heck can they fire at? Why have they got fire dice? Because, you see, the thing is they're blocking their fire here. Surely they can't fire at anyone. They don't have a fire lane to fire at anyone. No, they don't. I'm not... Let me check something here. No, they're blocked by the artillery as far as I'm concerned. Yes. Right. So, we've got the Southern artillery here. Now, this is smoothbore heavy, so no saving throws. And hit on a 4, 5, or 6. They've only got really artillery as targets, so let's say they fire at those chaps there. Okay, let's do that. And they've got a hit. So it's a hit on those boys over there. And then we've got incoming. So we said both these artillery units, yes, their fire lane, of course, is only their own frontage, so they can shoot down here, they can shoot down there. So we've got these 2, and these are not rifles, so they're looking for 4, 5, 6, and they've got 1 hit there, and I can't remember. They are indeed heavy, so there's no saving throw from that. So that is a hit on there. So that's another hit on Stevenson. Yes. Okay. And then finally, we have got 2 coming in from here at the artillery. This is small arms fire, so there will be saves from these. There is 1 hit. Union doing very well. But it's saved, so no good there. Okay. So that's that lot done. I think I'll mark that lot up. Right, there we are. There's the situation. And yes, fully 5 casualties have been taken by Stevenson's division in this turn. So the only way they can avoid divisional morale collapse when we roll at the end of the turn for that will be if they roll a 6. Anything else and their morale collapses. So anyway, what's left? Got this lot down here now. Of course, things have been going rather well for the Union up there for sure. And in here, the expectation of the Union commander is that things are going to go rather badly. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? How did that happen? Yes. Yes, I don't know if I'm seeing things here. No, I never I never laid out the melee dice for this unit or that unit, because there's bit of a melee going on there, you know. Yeah, I think I put it off. I thought, oh, I'll do that later, because I couldn't imagine where I was going to put his dice, because we were really on the edge of a hill there. But okay. Anyway, I think we can just get into it. Yes. Now, of course, the interesting thing here is that Pemberton, Lieutenant General John C. Pemberton, is attached. So, you know, he's sticking his neck out there. We'll see what happens. Right, so let's see. The Union are charging, so let's do them first, just for why not. And I really don't see it makes any difference which one we do first, so we'll start with Logan's 1st Brigade here with a mere 4 melee dice. There will be no saving throws. Off we go. Nothing there. No luck to the Union there, so not looking good. And then back comes the reply from let's see, the 3rd Brigade of SD Lee's division. 4, 6, fully 7 dice, because they're stationary. Surely they'll win the melee. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is pretty... Look at that. I mean, it doesn't make a difference, obviously, if you don't get 6s, but they couldn't even beat 4. Was this, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So morale-wise, they both have... yeah, they both have a morale of 5, so I'm just doing this slowly because this is pretty darn important. I don't want to mess this up. So they've got a melee tie there, and we're going to roll that sucker up. Okay, and the Rebs have taken it. The Rebs have seen them off. They've won the melee, and however else you want to describe it. Right, so Logan's 1st Brigade is sent away with its tail between its legs, and it's going to take a hit. No, it's not going to take a hit. No, there were no hits. Right, but it lost the melee, so it's going to become disordered, and it's going to retreat. Right, so that's where we ended up. There they are, retreated back. You go straight back, facing the enemy, half your normal move distance. You become disordered. The Rebs have decided to stay where they are. They're uphill. They're stationary. Now, they do have a bit of a problem down here, of course, because now at the moment, they have an open flank, but of course, in their own turn, they might be able to take measures to mitigate against that. But anyway, they've decided we're staying here, okay? Right, now, they're not just going to chase down the hill like I like to say, like the, what was it? The men of King Harold at Hastings. Yes. Right. Okay, so this lot, we got let's have the Union boys going in, because they're the ones attacking. We'll do them. Doesn't make any difference which ones we do first, because it's simultaneous, but Anyway, let's roll it up. No saving throws here. No saving throws here. And they still couldn't score a hit. Not looking good. Not looking good. Now here come these 7 dice of the Rebs in reply. Looks like they're going to bounce off. And there are indeed 2 hits this time. Okay. There we go. Right. Right, let's sort that out. And there we go. Logan's 3rd Brigade, 2 hits, disordered, retreated. By now I think you know the routine. Okay, so then finally, the only thing left is Logan's artillery down here. Stationary, so firing with 2 dice, hitting on 6s, firing at these chaps over here. And they... there are no saving throws. Right. Nothing there. Hitting only on 6s. Not short range, etc. Desultory fire. Very disappointing. Okay. Although statistically entirely average. Right. Okay, so I think we'll clean things up. There's a certain number of dice over there. We'll clean things up. We'll have a look at the battlefield, and we'll have a bit of a think out loud ponder. Yes. Right. Well, we've cleaned things up, but the first order of business, of course, is now that we're at the end of the Confederate turn. The end of the turn is we have to check for division morale collapse for any exhausted divisions that have taken casualties, not hits, casualties. And what do we got? So Stevenson here, his battered division, which this particular turn took no less than 5 casualties. He there is going to be rolling. He's going to be spinning the wheel of fortune. Let's get in a good spot to see if his morale has indeed collapsed. And it has. Yes, a 6 would have worked, but a 5 doesn't work. No. Equal to, it has to be, yeah, if it's equal to or less than, then it has collapsed. Right, so that means, I suppose we can go through the numbers here, as it were. Let me just got it written down on the old sheet. Get it. Yes. If the roll, I'm reading from the quick reference sheet here, the customized quick reference sheet from the web. If the roll is the same or lower than these casualties, then its morale collapses, and we will place a red marker on the divisional commander, and all stands drop 1 level of morale. And yes, and then we keep testing. We keep on going with that as the game goes on. But so what does that mean? Okay, that means that these chaps here who are disordered are going, let me think, they're going to, I've got all this written down somewhere. Yeah, normal becomes permanently disordered. They're normal, so they're going to get a red marker, meaning they're not presently disordered. So they're going to get a red marker, meaning they are now permanently disordered. Okay? The same has to be done for his artillery, which is there. And I'll put that die there to remind me, because I don't have another red marker to hand at the moment. We'll sort that out. And then we've got his other brigade over here. So that's Tracy's brigade, became permanently disordered. But Reynolds' brigade, which is already disordered, is going to rout. Right, doing this by the numbers. Anyway, I just realised they're going to rout. If they take 1 more casualty, they no longer exist. But of course, what you do is you do their rout, and then you remove their last casualty. So in their rout, where are they going to go? Well, first of all, I was looking down this way, but they're not routing away from an enemy like that. They are not in contact with an enemy, so they have to route towards their line of communication, which, as I've mentioned before, wasn't actually specified in this scenario. So I'm taking their line of communication to be down this road here. Okay? So, and that would get them also given an opportunity to cross Baker's Creek. So they would be going down this way. And the key thing is in the first half of their route move, they are not going to pass through both sides of any friends, so that's not going to, they're not going to be disordering anybody else or anything like that. So effectively what we do is we just pluck them from the battlefield, and they indeed are lost. So, as we said, they're lost, and also, didn't get to this one yet, forgot about the other brigade he had over here, Barton's brigade, who are already routed. And if your morale collapses when you're routed, you are eliminated. So they are eliminated. Right. Right. So now a bit of pondering and rambling, thinking about the Confederate situation as we now enter the, the 9th turn for the Confederates. Indeed, yes. Well, let's see. Obviously, taking a bit of a pounding up this way. So we've got Loring's division is here, here, and here. These chaps disordered, as we can see, so it's been pushed back in every which way, as it were. Stevenson, massive pounding. Now morale collapsed. Only one brigade left. It can only take 2 more casualties. And also its artillery in trouble there. So not much of a presence left for Stevenson. I mean, they can still, wander in front of a Union unit and get in the way, so to speak, as long as you have a close look at their exit route if they were to run away. Then we've got nothing here, basically. Okay, and then, of course, these chaps here on the E end, we can easily imagine a situation where they might now, in the Confederate turn themselves through 90 degrees so that they're presenting a secured flank there. So that would mean if they were hit from the front and from the side, they wouldn't be presenting a flank. But these chaps here can quite readily come down here and hit them in the rear. So they could easily get messed up in a big way. Let's put it that way. The rest of SD Lee, they might sort of say, "Oh well, we're sitting pretty, and we don't have an actual scratch on us yet, so we're just going to stay where we are. Thank you very much." They might want to be a bit more active than that. One thing that's interesting situation now, of course, that's happened with Logan's division. So Logan's division, you've got these 2 units of artillery here, and you've got 1, 2, 3 brigades. He's been hit. It's quite substantially. 4 more hits. It is still 4 more, but 4 more hits, and Logan will become exhausted. If he's exhausted, none of his units can be stationary anymore, and the key thing is they can't charge the enemy. So the enemy might decide that the shoe's on the other foot. Let's see if we can pound on Logan so that we can exhaust him and then not have to worry about him very much. Well, going against that is these 2 units here of Logan's, which are have been thrust back into the forest. See, because they can't see the enemy now, they can't charge in their next turn. So they could walk down here and come to about here if they wanted to, but you can only charge somebody you can see at the start of your turn. So they've got no problem getting in this far and opening fire on these chaps. But they wouldn't be able to charge them. So they are not a worry. They've only got 1 more turn. If they move forward, say, to the edge of the wood, then on the final turn of the battle, they could charge once again. So it's a question of, does Lee give up his rather very, very secure position, at least with attacks coming from this direction, or not? Now, the other thing there, of course, I mean, there are all kinds of things to consider. They could just sit pretty. 1, 2, 3, those 3 brigades there can all fire at these chaps here. And they have taken 2 hits, so they could sustain 3 more hits. So that would almost take Logan. He'd have 1 hit left before he got to exhaustion. So they could do that just by sitting there and firing at them. The main question, as I say, has got to be gone into some detail, is what to do about this end unit here, because if it could be attacked, and I think it might be able to be attacked by 3 different federal units. So that would mean there would be a melee where they would have 7 and the federal units would have 12, which is what happened here on the E end with Loring up in this neck of the woods in this very turn. Yes. In terms of the actual victory conditions, again, just a refresher on that one. This, of course, is a modified scenario whereby we've got S.D. Lee's division has been thrown in as an extra. And what to do with that in terms of the victory conditions wasn't mentioned specifically in the add-on to the scenario. So I adjudicated that whereas before the Union commander had to exhaust any Confederate troops that were east of Baker's Creek. So they could either drive them across, or they could have it so that only exhausted divisions were on this side. They would win a victory. And I said that was not going to have to include S.D. Lee as well, because if it did, it means that the South had the benefit not only of the arrival of S.D. Lee's division, but also then we would be saying that the Union also had to exhaust them, which was just too much, I thought, for the Union and to have to do. So that's what I said. Right, well, they've exhausted Stevenson, as we know, and they have indeed collapsed his morale. But they would still have to exhaust then 2 more divisions. So that's we got Loring. They've got 3 hits on Loring, but it is 3 hits, isn't it? Yeah. They got 3 hits on Loring, so they've still got another 8 that they would have to get in 2 turns, and they'd still have to get another 4 hits on Bowen. So it looks like a tough one. Although, of course, if they can get this to sort of disintegrate here, I don't know what Loring. Yeah, I don't know what Loring's going to do. Is Loring going to restore themselves from disorder, form up here and form a line? Now the problem with that is, whereas before they were stationary, then they wouldn't even be stationary with all this Union stuff coming towards them. Or are they going to withdraw and make the Union run a race to even catch them up? Problem with that is that if they withdraw, if they restore their order first and then withdraw, they're not going to be moving very far, and indeed the Union would be able to catch them. They'd be able to get to about here, the front on the road, and the Union could charge them in that position, which is not exactly much good. So I'm not quite sure. The South Loring's division might be running out of room. Okay, now they could. I suppose they could go for some completely opposite direction, but if they came down sort of like over here instead, the problem there is then there's no protection being left for S.D. Lee's rear, and if the North instead just made a beeline for the rear of S.D. Lee's chaps, well, I don't know. So there's a lot going on, you know. So that's the sort of overall position. I think I might need to make a bit of a correction to something I may have said earlier. And that is that Loring, actually 5 more hits on Loring will exhaust him, and 4 on Bowen down here. So there's Loring. Right. So 5 hits on Loring, 4 on Bowen. So in 2 turns, definitely. I mean, they had 5 hits on Stevenson. And hits on Loring last turn. So if they could get to Bowen, which looks like it's going to be difficult, but the problem what's happening here is I've been staring at this from the point of view of the Southern commander, and the problem is that as you might expect, because the Northern boys are trying to roll up the line here, roll up the Confederate right or southern flank. They are running out of room. The Southern boys are running out of room. This is an impassable obstacle, so that if you have to flee and you hit it, I think if you're routing towards it, I think you perish or something along those lines. But we shall see. I have to look into that. But Yeah, bit of a problem down here. And so the thing is that if they try and go this way, they can't outrun those Union forces there. Union forces here can actually just about, that one there, this unit here can charge this unit here next turn. I mean, that's how close they are. So if Loring were to, do this sort of collapsing bag, sort of a retreat sort of a thing, I mean, if they went towards the rear of SD Lee, perhaps to sort of protect the rear of SD Lee, they're going to get charged by the Union. They're not going to be able to go far enough. And as far as Bowen is concerned, if they decide to skedaddle, well, if they simply march smartly across the bridge here, then they've just forfeited themselves. They count as a lost division effectively in terms of the victory conditions. So they can't do that. So they could sort of like move down here, but way down south. But the Union forces would catch up with them. I suppose the question then would be, could they catch up with them in sufficient time to do any damage? Looking at it, I'm sort of doubting that they could. But yes, by goodness me, it's a dashed interesting situation. Once again, I do like it when this happens because it does show, obviously you've got the vagary of the dice, you've got the vagary of the commanders, of how well did the Northern Commander do, how well did the Southern Commander do. But I do like it when you come to the end of a game like this, and there's still a lot to play for, as it were. It's very finely balanced. So here's to it.